Well, on a wet May day, we're in the village of Wickhambrook. And this is the Church of All Saints. And it's got a clock, which is looking about right. Church is situated on the main village road. Some beautiful houses opposite. It's got a lovely gate, a metal arch, lovely vegetation growing around it. And look at the setting of this church. It's got thatched cottages, fields behind it. Lovely churchyard in front, surrounded by a flint and brick wall, and lots of graves. There's a large grave here. In the memory of Catherine. And there we've got a lovely setting. Look at that little box on the tree, headstone underneath, birds singing. Church is set down a little bit from the churchyard. There's quite a drop actually to it. Whether that causes a damp problem. Look at the trees here and the houses. It's beautiful here. This is going back to nature in a very dramatic, actually endearing way. Looks lovely. That's really nice. Now we've got headstones under the tree. The weather is not good today, but on a sunny day that would be wonderful. Look at the flowers here and everything. It's actually starting to rain now. This is fabulous. Look at the gravestones under the tree and the flowers and ivy. What a wonderful place. You can see where people have walked through. Now look at this. Isn't that wonderful? You can probably tell I'm impressed with this. There's a gate here going into the presumably what was or is the vicarage. They've cut the grass here at the back of the church, and then it extends for quite a way in a sort of wild state or natural state. It's very large actually, it goes back a long way. Beautiful trees and headstones under the trees. Look at the church here. This is an unusual wall. It's a mixture of flint, stone, and very different to the normal flint walls that we see around here. All this bottom part's been repaired. Old wooden door here, that looks very old. Very worn, the stone here. And we've got some memorials here built into the church wall.
Harriet, the beloved wife of the Reverend Charles Borton, vicar of this parish, born January the 4th, 1803, died October the 15th, 1847.
It's lovely. Look at that. All the design work on that. That's beautiful. And this one. Another one. Now we've got the church bells going. That's very atmospheric. with a beautiful look at this churchyard. It's too wet to actually walk down there at the moment. Look, pouring off the roof here. Look at that. Talk about atmospheric, and here it's pouring into a barrel. Well, dripping into a barrel. Oh, we've got a wheelie bin or two. In this case, two. It's an old door that's old. A light above it. Oh, that's fabulous. If it had been drier, I would have gone down and had a look at that churchyard, because it looks like it goes down quite a way. And now that is a really beautiful, atmospheric churchyard. Fabulous, fabulous. One of the loveliest I've seen. And unfortunately it's too wet down there. All the grass is soaked to walk down there. So we look up at this tower here. Lots of sharp angles on that. And additions, perhaps. Was it all built like that in one time? At one time, I'm not sure. I'm not certain. This was added on at a later stage. Totally different, isn't it? This is extensive around here in terms of wilderness. You see the drainage system they've had to put in here because the church is below the land, just immediate to the side of it. It's an impressive tower with buttresses coming straight out at the back rather than an angle. You see the extension of the side of the church here. It's been added. Looks like two extensions really. This big one here and then the porch. Iron railing here. Little brick buttress there. Cross and rendered walls. This is a very wide porch, stepping right down, very impressive, very big. And look at this unusual window each side. Leaded plain glass. Another memorial into the wall. 1693. This looks like a headstone that was in the churchyard and has been put here. It's a beautiful little alcove. So we close the door and find ourselves in a vast area, massive area here. We've got 3 aisles, 4 lots of pews that extend, and some at the side as well. They extend right across this massive church now with the really big extensions. At the back in the corner here we've got the font, which difficult to gauge what this is. It looks like possibly an older font that's been put onto a stone, fairly modern stone base. It's got a nice wooden top to it. Stand back here, you can get an idea, and it's well lit because all the windows are plain, and there's a lot of them. On this side we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 running down, one at the end and one behind us, and that's just the one extension. Ceiling is lower here obviously in this extension, but when you go into the main part of the church, we've got a very high ceiling and a very different ceiling to many in this area. It's partly plastered, and all the struts and supports are standing proud in dark wood. And at the end, behind the altar, we've got more plain glass, so I find it so light in here. But of course, there is no stained glass windows to be seen. So here on this side we've got the organ, and a memorial to a man who played this organ for 48 years. He died in 1920. Well, he was the organist in this church, so whether he played this organ, I'm not too certain. But if he did, that would make this organ late Victorian. Stands right in the middle of the church, like a little island almost. If we go behind, we see the tower with that very large plain leaded window and a ladder to go up. Not sure where it goes. We can hear a tick-tock, and that's the clock that's in the tower. So at this part of the church, it's dominated by the organ. In fact, we can't get to the aisle, the main aisle, apart from going round here. But a very old floor, very old, worn floor actually. And here we can see the organ where it's sitting right in the middle of the church. Very impressive. Pipes in glorious silver colour. And here they are, the shape of them at the top matches the arch. And we can look around and see the full length of the church from here. Seems very strange without stained glass windows. It's so light and open. The pews don't seem that old. They look as if they're something from the 1920s. Almost as if this church was fitted out again. Yet the actual fabric of the building seems much older. The tiles, got a wooden floor here. A lot of pews though. It's a lovely candle. Cross on it. Head of the pulpit. This beautiful flower arrangement. And we go around to the side, and there's a small chapel here, small chapel area. It's so open, it's so light. Very old floor. It's almost as if there was a smaller church here at one time, a smaller chapel type church. It's been made larger. This is very old. And we've got an opening here with some steps going up to the pulpit. And behind it is some steps that go up. Not certain where they go. We can't go up there. This is the pulpit. The view of this vast building. Very open, very light. And here we can come back into the main part of the church through this other opening. There's been so much change here. We've got block work, stone work. There's carpet running down the middle, covering up a number of old graves and memorials. But the walls are basically plain. Very little on the walls. But over here we do have a couple of memorials. We have another one on this side. Lovely chair here sitting on top of another grave. And this is behind bars. This is for protection, I suspect. This looks like a very old artifact, perhaps. Well, be interesting to know where that was from. Seems to be a lot of old, very old items in this church. There again, this is all surrounded by. So we've got something here.
Thomas Hyam died about 1567 and died 1630.
That's beautiful, isn't it? And all this ironwork here. Gilded. Looks like a piece has been broken off of this, perhaps. This corner we've got a few more memorials. And we can stand actually just behind the altar and have a view of this massive church. A different feeling in this church than most. It doesn't feel like a country church, but it does feel like a very old building. It feels like that somewhere within this there was an extremely old building that's been built upon and developed over the years. It's another one of these churches that I feel we should find out what the history is, because it must be extremely interesting. Lots of people and lots of history involved. We've got a little musical corner here with another little chapel-y type area with a church, piano, more memorials. But there again, no stained glass windows. You see churches in Suffolk, and many of them have a similar feel. This one feels different, but it does feel old, and I've said that many times. This, for example, this floor, these stones are just worn away so much that we can't even tell what they are. Got a ramp going up to the door. Here we've got a memorial to the war dead. Well, it's a very light church inside. In fact, it seems brighter than it is outside, because we're greeted here by a rather dull, damp, not too cheerful May day. All Saints, Wickhambrook. A strange church, I don't mean that in any bad way, but it seems that it's a very old, small church that's been developed and developed.